Awesome.
Oh, I love it. Bam said Twizzlers and candy canes. Are those cookies? I like candy too.
It's a treat for sure.
Exactly. I'm going with chocolate chip and a fake tree.
All righty, it is now 6:05, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all again for joining us on this Tuesday evening for our 2022 Legislative Year in Review virtual town hall. It has been awesome to see your questions in advance and also to see how many folks are joining us this evening. Just a couple things to get us started. If you're not speaking, please keep your microphone on mute just so that we can all hear. We have a bunch of very exciting updates to share with you all, as well as an exciting year ahead that we're excited to share how we're getting started already with some pieces of legislation. We have our time today split in between the year in review and then time for your questions at the end, and then we will wrap it up hopefully around 7, but I know that we might be able to get a couple of last minute things in towards the end, should we need to go a little bit over. But that's how we're going to spend our time. I'm going to introduce Councilmember Burroughs, and if you see anyone in the audience who we should acknowledge and introduce as well, I'm going to turn it over to you. Councilmember Burroughs? I think we're getting some tech things squared away.
Could you do the acknowledgements? I'm trying to help Senator Muse get online, and so I'll pick up on my first slide.
Yeah, for sure. Well, also just want to introduce our District 8 office. My name's Diane. I'm the Director of Community Partnerships and Advocacy here over at the District 8 office, if we haven't met already. I have my colleague, Ms. Plachette, joining us as well. Ms. Plachette keeps us all together, is our office manager. Ms. Plachette, do you want to say hello?
Hi, I'm the lady who wants the chocolate chip cookies and the fake tree for Christmas. And thank you all for being here.
Absolutely. And we've got other members of our team as well. We've got Colin Bird. He does a great job with all of our constituent services. And then we've got Brandon joining us, sneaking up from behind me. There we go. Brandon is our chief of staff, joining us in the office as well. And of course, we got Councilmember Burroughs. I see a number of community leaders, civic association leaders. I see nonprofit leaders, some folks who work with us in the county government. So thank you all so much for joining. And we're going to get things started. Ready, Councilmember Burroughs? All righty. So Councilmember Burroughs is a lifelong Prince George's County resident. You probably have heard of him by now, but the reason that we're doing this event is to share with you all just what we've been able to do in this short time since he was elected to this office, District 8 County Council member during the January special election. He was sworn in on February 15th, 2022, and just recently was reelected and sworn in for a full term on December 5th. So from February 15th, 2022 to now this short 10 months that we have been here with the County Council, we're excited to share all that we've been able to accomplish. So getting started, the 2022 legislative session has been a busy one. Just a quick overview by the numbers. We passed the fiscal year 2023 county budget, just over $5 billion budget with a lot in there. We had a lot going on with the budget, and that was a busy time of year for us, where we were able to direct $360,000 in project charge funding directly to District 8. We'll break down a little bit more of where that went, as well as the 100,000 special appropriations grants, 18 newsletters sent out over to 15,000 community members. If you are not already on our community list with all of our newsletters, please let us know so that we can include you in our distributions in the future. We have had over 176 community events and meetings with partners. The council member is very busy and has been attending a lot of events over the course of the last 10 months, has sponsored or co-sponsored 57 pieces of legislation, and we've hosted 7 monthly community leaders meetings just in these first 10 months to connect with community members. We have so many excited pieces of legislation, and I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Burroughs to talk about that.
Cool. Thank you so much, and I'm so glad to be here with everyone. It's not lost on me that last year, this is our year in review. Last year on this day, Colin Bird and I were out door knocking, and so it's just a real honor. I'm very thankful. I'll pause. I see we have our state senator on the line. I know he is in between meetings, and I talked to him earlier today, and he said he would try to jump on for some time, but I do know he's gonna have to jump off pretty quickly because he's in between meetings. But I'll defer to you, Senator. Your mute's on.
There we go. There we go. How are you, my favorite councilman?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing well, and thank you very much for having me on. And to our constituents who are on, I want to first say happy holidays, and for me, Merry Christmas to all of you. Blessed New Year. We're looking forward to working together as a team, working on your behalf. We know that there are many new issues, and I'm looking forward to getting to know them and getting to know some of our new constituents. I have in the 26th district more than 10,000 new constituents that I've never served before, and I'm looking forward to serving them. To Councilman Burroughs, thank you for the good job that you're doing, keeping up on everything and being able to challenge the status quo for the right reason. All of that matters in what we do. So I appreciate that very much. And if you have any questions of me, you can ask, and if not, I'm not going to take a lot of time in your meeting.
No, thank you very much, Senator. Senator Muse and I started working together well before he was sworn in. He's not even sworn in now. I was his intern in high school, but I do want you to know that, and we'll get to this in a future slide, there's $10 million set aside for our area through the MGM Local Impact Grant Fund. And we have been trying to wrestle that money, and I'll get to this, in further detail, but back to the district, essentially. And Senator Muse's leadership was very instrumental in helping negotiate that, amongst the council and the exec, and he will take his seat back on the local development council as our state senator. But that's a lot of money that can do a lot of good. And we didn't frankly have a partner on the LDC, but I appreciate Senator Muse stepping up to play that role.
I know you all had a real fight there, and it shouldn't be, because it was promised to our constituents. It was promised to our district that bears the brunt of most of the impact. And so I'm with you there. I am thankful to have team members that understand what we need to do in order to deliver, as Marion Barry used to say, deliver for our people and for our constituency. And I'm looking forward to being a partner once again and getting that done. We have a good governor who understands our district, understands what we need, and we're looking forward to all working together in the days to come. So I wish you all peace and love and joy, and may you have some time aside. And for me and for you, I thank God for the Lord, and I'm looking forward to being able to serve again and being sworn in, being a 5th time being sworn in, and serve the good people of our county. Keep up the good work, Councilman, and when you need me, you know where I am.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Senator. And this slide here, I know you might have to jump, but this slide here is definitely something that we're going to need state support on. So there's we were able to pass, my first bill was CB 29, and that cut property taxes by 20% for our senior citizens. And unfortunately, under the state law, we can only do this for 5 years at a time. And so every 5 years, the council would have to do a new bill or it would expire. And so one of the things I've spoken to Senator Muse about is giving us more flexibility over it. Also, under state law, the highest we could cut taxes for seniors is 20%. And so one of the things that I hope to work with him on is saying, okay, give the county the flexibility to determine the length of time. It should not be capped at 5 years. It should, be able to go into effect for as long as the council, the county deems that we could afford it. Also, it's at 20%. If you're 65, but if you're 70, should it be 30%? If you're 80, should it be 100%? I know that there are some places across the country that tiers the relief of property taxes based on your age, and it goes up and up and up. So that's definitely something that we need state support on, so that we can serve more of our seniors.
I'm looking forward to being a partner with you and getting that done. It's justice and it's right. Our seniors are the reason this county exists and has existed so long. So champion, keep at it, and I'm with you all the way. God bless everyone, and I will see you all real soon.
All right, thank you, Senator.
Bye.
And so there will be applications available for this, the senior tax credit in this for the spring of 2023. There will be applications, hard copy applications, and there will be an online application. The Office of Finance will be hosting fairs to assist people. And so if there are, if all the civic associations in District 8 wanted to come together on one night or 2 nights, and we have the Office of Finance come in to do the applications to assist seniors, we're happy to do it. If any of your churches want to host a senior tax credit sign up day or church service, we're happy to do that too. And so, we want to make sure that every senior in the county, particularly in District 8, is signed up so they get the relief. There's so many tax credits that we have in county government that no one ever applies for, that people don't even know exist. We went through the tax credit list, and there's probably over 10 or 12 tax credits that people are eligible for that not one person in the county has applied for. We want to make sure that people in our district know about this one. Can we go to the next slide? This, I would say the tax credit is one of our largest accomplishments, but I would say this is probably the second, if not the most important thing that we have done. For so many years, the MGM local impact funds have been diverted to pay for items and services that the county government is already supposed to fund. And that's not what was promised. We were promised that we would have additional services, additional support from these funds. And when I looked at the MGM impact list, there was nothing additional coming to our part of the county based off of having the MGM. And it's not perfect. We're not able to get it perfect this time, but I do think moving forward, we're going to be able to do a lot more exciting things. And so I rewrote the entire education portion of the MGM impact spending. It initially was going to go to routine maintenance that the school system budget should have already funded. And instead, we put mentoring programs at every middle school and every high school in the district. I don't have to tell you, I assume most of you know, but there has been a rise in violence in our schools. There's also been a rise in drug usage in our schools, fentanyl. We have students overdosing on fentanyl at very high numbers, unfortunately. And you've seen all over the news, whether it's a stabbing at a school or guns in schools. So, we needed to beef up the social, emotional support and mentoring programs that we have in our schools. And so at every one of the District 8 high schools and middle schools, we put in these quality mentoring programs. We also put in literacy programs at 20 of our elementary schools through the Prince George's County Memorial Library System. You know, if you're not reading on grade level by the time you leave elementary school, the likelihood of you catching up is very slim, unfortunately. And what we have seen throughout the country and our system is no different. You have students graduating with a high school diploma who are reading on a 5th, 6th, 7th grade reading level. And so it's so important that we put in the right interventions early on with our young people. And so we put in money to have the Prince George's County Memorial Library System. And Colin Bird is actually the president of that foundation board. So 20 elementary schools in our district. We also, which I'm very excited about, we were able to put in anyone who lives in our impact area will be able to go to Prince George's County Community College tuition free. That's any young person, any old person. You know, they have a senior program there. They have several certification programs there. They have several trade programs there, and they also have, of course, the college credit tuition that you can get there. And so it's so important to me that, and we will be the only region in the county where people can go completely tuition free. And that's because we rewrote the CR 115. Let's see. I can kind of go on and on about it. And here's another thing. You know, there was a bill put in years ago that said half of the money of the MGM had to go to education, and education was defined under the law as the school system, the memorial library system, and the community college. And so we added nonprofits to that sector because we know nonprofits are able to provide services to young people after school, on the weekends, and throughout the summer. There is significant student learning loss that occurs over the summer. So it's so important that we're able to fund organizations who can work with our students over the summer. So we changed 35% of the plan under CR 115. There is still a large part of money that I will need your support on. I'm looking at the list now. The District 7 police station, we are funding out of this MGM Impact Grant $1 million. We are funding 6 firefighters. That's about $800,000. We are funding the Employ Prince George's National Harbor Job Center. That is over $600,000. Those items, the police station, the firefighters, Employ Prince George's, in my view, are things that should be funded out of the county government's budget. You know, and that's what I'm going to be working on in this budget. And if I'm able to fund those things out of the county council budget, out of the county government's budget, that will free up at least or about $3 million of additional support that can go directly to this district doing things that are on top of what the county is supposed to be doing. You know, one of the things that I'm very interested in doing, and either we're going to figure out how to do it through the LDC, or we're going to figure out how to do it through the Rosecroft grant money. I've been in communication with the police department, and they have expressed to myself and to Council Member Oriata the important role that these ring cameras play in keeping the community safe. Actually, last week I was with one of the police officers who actually lives in District 9, but not far from District 8. And in his backyard, he was able to see a man with a mask trying to break into his back door. But because he had the ring camera, he was able to come on and scare the guy away. And in DC, they have an incentive program to try to get citizens to get these Ring cameras, or, you know, and I don't care the brand, I'm just using Ring as an example, but some sort of surveillance device. You know, I'm very interested in saying that if you are a District 8 resident, that we will set aside money to pay for the installation and upkeep of your surveillance devices, whether it's Ring or I can't even think of the other ones at the time period, because they have been shown to be a deterrent to crime. That they have been shown to help catch individuals. I know we are all aware of the young person who was raking leaves and was shot in Marlow Heights. And one of the first things that the police officers did was they went looking at all the Ring cameras to see if they could try to identify who did it. And so, those, and I used to work in the state attorney's office. Whenever there's a shooting scene, they knock on every door trying to find these Ring cameras. And so something that we're looking at. But let me just stick with the slides. Can we go to the next slide?
I also wanted to address that is a current piece of legislation, so it hasn't passed yet. So I see some questions in the chat about access to those cameras and the first time you're hearing about those things. That's because just this past Monday that was introduced. So if that is new information or you have questions, the law is not passed. So if you would like to know more information or stay attuned to what is happening, I will give you more information about how to advocate, and then also about what those current provisions in the bill are in just a moment. But that has not passed yet. It was just introduced this past week, but just wanted to clarify that for those questions in the chat.
Yeah, and I only raised that because we were talking about the LDC money, and even if that bill does not fail, if that bill does not pass countywide, I believe that I can use some of this money if we free it up from funding some of these other things that the county is supposed to pay for, and having a pilot just for our region. That's why I raised it with that. I'm very, very. So there's something called project charges, where a council member could essentially give a reimbursable amount of money to a nonprofit to do work. And I'm so happy that we were able to get more project charge money than any other district in this last budget. And that took a lot of hard work. And so we were over 360,000. And so we've given them to different mentoring groups, different Boys and Girls Clubs. I made a commitment very early in my term that I would triple the funding to the Camp Springs Boys and Girls Club. I did that. And Broad Creek is essentially like a civic association. They have their money. Town of Forest Heights has their money. And so they're doing mentoring, wraparound services. And we gave $100,000 through project charges to Forest Heights to help address some of the litter hotspot areas in our district. Can we go to the next slide? Oh, good. I hear Delegate Woods. Are you here?
I am here.
Oh, how you doing? Thank you for joining us. I know you're in and out of meetings, so if you want to say a few words, please do.
Just want to say hello to everyone, and so glad to be here and have this opportunity, and just to salute you for a job well done, Councilmember Burroughs, so far. I see Teresa Waters is on. We met about her last week, so hopefully we'll have a further conversation soon. But just to keep up the good work, all that you're doing, your staff is doing. And just in case you all didn't know this, I will actually be the person on the LDC from District 26 once I'm sworn in.
Thank you so much, Delegate Woods, for joining us. We are so happy to have state partners as well, because again, this is a team sport. We have jurisdiction over some things in the county, but it takes that partnership on the state level to ensure that we are best serving our community. I wanted to highlight the labor trafficking unit that we were able to establish with CB 56. This is a really important piece of legislation because we have been hearing from a lot of our labor partners that in the county they've been facing human rights violations and just not being paid adequately for their work. There's been a lot of labor trafficking that's been happening in the county. So this has been a way that we can support exploited workers to ensure that we are making sure that everyone who's working in the county is not facing any of those challenges. And we are really pleased to be able to pass this law to support our residents. We also have established Saturday school learning hubs with CB 55. This piece of legislation had $1.5 million to create Saturday school learning hubs at park and planning facilities throughout the county. We know that the pandemic has left students struggling in school. And as a former teacher myself, I can say that it was a bleak outlook with kids returning to the classroom. This is one of the ways that we can make sure that we are wrapping our arms around our young people and supporting them in the ways that we can, not just through the school system, but also through all of the ways that our county has at its disposal. So CB 55, we're very excited about that piece of legislation as well. One thing that I am very excited about is our community leaders meetings. We've been hosting meetings with your civic associations leaders, your homeowners associations leaders. There are a number of citizen groups and advocacy groups who have been meeting with us regularly. This has been a great time and point of contact for people to tell us what's going on in their neighborhoods, what concerns the residents of District 8 have. And so that communication has been really helpful for us to be responsive to things like litter hotspots, things like cats in people's backyards, ways that we can find ways to support those kinds of everyday issues that people are experiencing in District 8. And that communication has been really valuable and also have helped us to be very responsive to a lot of the everyday needs of our residents. And I will say that we get calls, emails, and everything under the sun, and we are very proud and honored to be able to work to serve you here at the District 8 office. Mr. Colenberg, Ms. Plachette, we over here, Brandon as well, we all work to respond to those calls, those requests, get you signed up so that you're the first to hear about the senior tax credit application when it comes out. And we are just very honored to do this work alongside you all. So that is just the overview of how we've spent our time with District 8 in the last 10 months. You could take a closer look with these pictures because the pictures are worth 1,000 words. This is our very first day in office getting sworn in after the special election on February 15th. We have been at so many different community meetings, events out in the neighborhood, from the early days when we were all masked up indoors, now to hopefully being masked up again, if not even more so now. We've been at all of these community events, which have been so fun in all parts of the district, out in Forest Heights, out in Oxon Hill, out in Fort Washington. We've been all over going to farmers markets, community markets, events. I'm just trying to keep track of the chat as we are going. Out in the community, making sure that we have an engagement platform for all residents. We've had community members help determine where some of that special appropriations grant funding goes towards. We've had a community town hall over the police accountability bill, and we've tried our best to make sure that we are creating that authentic engagement legislatively and with all of our efforts here at the office. We've also had some fun along the way. National Night Out at the circus. We've done a number of different things, just engaging with everyone in District 8. And then also making sure that we're fighting for Prince George's. We have a lot of workers in the county, and we want to make sure that workers can live here and stay here, and are passing legislation to do that as well. So District 8 team is very happy to serve you and be here in these first 10 months, and then also in the year ahead. And we've been working with our colleagues to do it all. Politics is a team sport, so not just our council colleagues, but our state colleagues, and everyone in between, just to make sure that we are not only just serving District 8, but of course the county as a whole. And we have so many things that we are excited about in the year ahead. And I'll turn it back over to the council member to talk about some of those new pieces of legislation that I'm sure you are excited to share.
Yes, thank you so much. And I did want to acknowledge Delegate Jamila, because she was also so involved and very helpful with passing those LDC funds, the Local Development Council funds, the funds that, will allow us to be the only district where people can go to the community college for free, putting those mental health supports and services into our high schools and middle schools, and the literacy programs in our elementary schools. And so I want to thank you very much, Delegate, for everything that you did to help with that as well. As we look ahead, normally once a new council comes in, they go into recess until January, but this council did not take that recess. And instead, we have worked as a unit to put forth a lot of bills that I think you will be pleased with and that are in the best interest of our district. And then there are some other bills that will be dropped in January that I would love to talk to you about as well. First bill on my list to talk about is, I'm not sure what's happening, but it seems like every week or every other week, there are developers who are trying to build self-storage facilities across the district at a pretty alarming number. And so there's going to be a bill in now that will limit where the self-storage facilities can be built. We know that there are certain parts of our district, not all of our district, but there's certain parts of our district where we have these huge concentrations of 24-hour tobacco stores. I've put in a bill to limit the hours of those stores, and also to limit where they can go. There's some places in the district where you have 3 or 4 24-hour tobacco stores all right next to each other, and there's a lot of crime that's associated with them, and so we have put forth the bill to not only limit their hours but also limit where they can go in general. We have a lot of developers who intend to put a lot of things in our district, and one of the bills that we've put in is to require a health impact assessment when dealing with land use issues, so that it's important that we have quality development that uplifts our community. We don't want someone else's junk, and we also don't want development that could adversely impact the health of our community. And we've seen that with the liquor stores, tobacco stores, and even some of the high density developments that they have planned, where traffic doesn't support it, and that has an impact on health as well. And so that's one of our bills. Another bill that, as Diane mentioned earlier, is that we are looking at mimicking the DC private security camera incentive program. I'm trying to incentivize individuals who are homeowners to get these Ring cameras, or and at no cost to them, that the county government would pay for. So that's one of our bills. Another one of our bills is rent stabilization. During the pandemic, there were some landlords who increased their rents by 50%, 60%, 70% in 1 year. And that was pretty egregious. And when you already have families who are struggling to make ends meet, we feel that there's a role for government to play. And so we've introduced a rent stabilization bill that says that you can only raise your rent 4% a year. That's the cap. And so, that's one that I do anticipate there will be some amendments around. But the goal of that is to prevent this price gouging from occurring. And we know that in certain communities, that's a tactic that some folks use when they're trying to displace people out of one community. They raise the rent so much that the people who've lived there for a significant period of time can no longer afford to live there. And so that's one of our bills. Another one of our bills as it relates to renters, we have some renters in our district who have rented in their apartment complex for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but it does nothing to boost their credit. And so Anita Bonds passed a bill in DC. I piggyback off of her bill that said, if you are a renter and you want to have your landlord report your rent to the credit agencies, they can, to help you build your credit. Now, this is a program that the renter would opt into, not be required to do. So if you're shaky on your rent, you don't have to opt in. But if you were faithfully paying your rent every month, and you want to help build your credit because you're trying to do other things, then we want to make sure you have that opportunity. So those are just a few bills that and then also have a project labor agreement bill.
Councilmember, you're on mute.
How long have I been on mute?
Just for 15 seconds.
Okay, because I'm sitting here going for it.
Yes, we heard you until you started talking about the project labor.
Got it. We spend millions and millions and millions of dollars as a county every year. And the reality is that there are very few requirements that are in place that require these contractors who do things like road work, for example, to hire people who live in the county, to recruit people who live in the county, to train people who live in the county, to ensure that they have health care, benefits, wages, retirement. And so that's, you're going to see a very aggressive stance from this incoming council that supports both our local minority businesses, our county-based businesses, and also the workers in the county. It makes no sense that so many of our citizens, even in the construction trades, have to go to Virginia or DC to do any work when we have millions of dollars here and projects here. And it's so important that we recirculate our tax dollars back into our own communities. And so that's, we have a bill to do that, to start that. Let's see. So those are the main ones that I have.
Yes, and I do want to acknowledge some of the things happening in the chat as well. Financial literacy is a graduation requirement that the council member worked on when he was on the Board of Education. So that is one of the ways that we're supporting folks with financial literacy, as well as the Financial Empowerment Center from Prince George's Community College. Got some of that funding from the local impact grant this year for MGM local impact grant, specifically for financial literacy. They have a credit builders program to help folks who are struggling with their credit to be able to build that up. And those programs will be free of charge for residents as well. Those programs will launch they will get their funding in the spring with a budget reallocation process. And then once those programs are available to the public, hopefully in the summer, that is when residents can take advantage of those programs as well. So just wanted to acknowledge some of those things happening in the chat.
Yeah,
and
if I can just expound a little bit, I'm happy that you raised that. We were very excited, and Plachette worked on that proposal on our team to fund the Financial Empowerment Center. And they have a credit builders program that we funded, which would essentially take a cohort of residents and they will provide one-on-one financial coaching for them. Not only that, they will put up a certain amount of money each month, and they will require the participant to put up a small amount of money each month. and they will work through their credit union, through the county's credit union, to literally help build their credit. And when I looked at their results, people who complete this program have seen their credit scores raised by 100 points. And at the end of that program, all that money is theirs. It's not like they have to pay for anything. This is a completely free service. And so we are very, very excited about that financial literacy piece, and we hope to expand it.
Yeah, and I do want to say as well, if you are interested in some of these new pieces of legislation, if you have concerns or amendments, things that you want to be sure are on the council members' radar and the rest of the council as these bills are going into committee and being read in front of the council, I am dropping a link in the chat right now so that you can sign up for our advocacy, community advocates program, to be able to say, I'm really interested about this private surveillance, video surveillance, and I want to make sure it's done right. I have some concerns. Go ahead and write your name down on that form so that we can make sure that you're aware of when these bills are going to be brought back up. That way you can be an advocate for getting some of these things passed. I see a lot of excitement around that health component for land use matters. We want to make sure that these things pass, and we're very confident and excited about it, but your support as community members and your input is very valuable to us. So that link is in the chat to put your information down and for us to continue to be in contact. And at this point in time, I do want to transition us over into some question and answers. Some folks have submitted questions and answers ahead of time. We tried to embed some of them in the presentation about that senior tax credit. There was a lot of questions about that. Litter pickup was also a big question. But if you have a question that you didn't get addressed, would love for you to raise your hand or come off mute so that you could ask the council member.
I see we have Judge Ingrid Turner here. Thank you for joining us, Your Honor. Also a former council member. Here's a question here. Is there anything in place?
I don't see a hand.
Go raise hands.
Where?
Go back to.
Diane, how do you want me to just pick questions or?
Well, I think someone came off mute. Oh, Mr. Jones, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Councilmember Burroughs and your staff for outstanding work and your advocacy so far. I'm very, very, very encouraged as president of my association, Italian North Area Civic Association. Very quickly, I think you already mentioned this, but if you have possible amendments or certain things you want to see in legislation, would that go directly to Brandon, or who would that go to? So I'm clear.
Yeah, so that could go to Brandon.
Okay, thank you.
And I see Dave and Alicia, if you would like to unmute and ask your question.
Yes, thank you. This is Dave Walker with Sunrise Homeowners Association. And we have been talking to Councilman Burroughs about a developer trying to develop the Sharper Florist location on Brinkley Road. And looks like on the 22nd of this month, 2 days from now, he will have a pre-application meeting, community meeting for that proposed development. I was wondering if Councilman Burroughs could join that meeting to support Sunrise and Prophecy and the surrounding communities as we address the issues. I heard you say something about a health assessment should be run, or even a traffic pattern assessment. None of that has been done, and we're very concerned about this development in our neighborhood.
No, absolutely. You know, when someone files an application, we're in the process of filing the application, the council sits as a district council, and it's sort of like a court case. And so there's a lot of rules and limitations to what I can do, but my chief of staff can be present. And you can always relay your concerns to me. You know, I've heard a lot of the concerns when I knock the area. I can tell you, there was someone who was very interested in putting a whole bunch of warehouses at Rosecroft, essentially. And I went to that meeting and I said, I can't say what I'm gonna do because my hands were tied, legally. But when they asked me to do the text amendment, I said no. And 2 days later, they announced the deal had fallen apart. So I'm gonna be very in tune to any and all those development issues. If I can't be there legally, my chief of staff or someone on my team will be there. And we will ensure that whatever legal remedy we have to protect the citizens, that we do it. I'm not seeing a whole lot of value in these high dense, and generally speaking, because I don't want to talk about this particular case because then they'll say I can't rule on it. But generally speaking, I'm not seeing a whole lot of value in these high dense townhome developments or even apartment complexes. I have not seen anything that that I've supported thus far. But please send us any information you have. That on this last slide will be my office email address. If you shoot over those details, I'll make sure someone from my team is there.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Will do.
We've got two folks who are iPhone. I'm going to ask to unmute one of them. I don't know your name, but if you see ask to unmute you.
Yes. So hello. So my name is Jacqueline Cunningham. I am a psychiatric counselor with the DC government. And I am also a homeowner on Deal Drive. I wanted to thank the council member for everything that he's been helping the district with, especially as it relates to Glass Manor. I have been working with someone in his office to try to get speed bumps, and I want to let folks know I'm coming around with a petition to be signed so we can get those speed bumps. So we've had several shootings in our neighborhood. We have had an elderly lady, someone ran into her house with their car. They stole a car and she had to run in the house basically so she wouldn't be killed. And the bricks in her house were damaged. And then someone else had run into a house on Dill Drive and their gate was demolished, and other folks were just driving through shooting. My window had been shot through. I mean, there's a lot going on. And the thing that would deter that are the speed bumps. People just can't run through shooting, or they can't run into the houses. There are a lot of seniors that live in our neighborhood. So I go through the neighborhood cleaning out their yard, helping out. I even go down 202 with myself and Ms. Keys and Cynthia picking up trash because there's a lot of trash on 202. However, for right now, we are working on trying to do something with cars just running through our street. Like we have children that live there. A couple of years ago, I think it was about 2 years ago, a child was killed on Marcy Avenue. And there are not even signs there around the school that say, hey, this is a school zone. The yellow lights, we don't have those. So it's like, it's a lower socioeconomic area. And I think that we get taken advantage of. So I just want to really thank the council member for letting me know what to do and who to reach out to. And Mr. Bird is he's so helpful. He calls me back and tells me exactly what to do. And he calls me more than I call him. So I need to get on the ball with the rest of my petitions. I'm so grateful because I don't want any of our seniors or our children to be shot when these folks, if you check on your Ring camera, if you live in anywhere near Glass Manor, you'll always see shooting about 2, 3 in the morning, all on Dunster. Anywhere near, all on Kennebec, they'll be shooting all over the place. So we just want to be safe, and we want to work on that issue like we can't work on any other issue without our lives. So we want to have our lives. And I thank you so much. It's just so scary because the time that my window was shot through, I was literally at work at the psychiatric hospital. My son was in the room, and if he would have gotten up, went to the bathroom, he would have been shot. So the bullet was in like the closet upstairs in the hallway where I keep toiletries and things like that. And he said he heard a noise, but he didn't know what it was. So when I went in the closet, I saw the bullet. I was like, oh my God, do I need to sell my house? I'm trying my best to live here, because one of the other senator said that, oh yeah, Glass Manor is like a gold mine. So I'm like, maybe I should stay. And then it's not too expensive staying here. And then I like helping my seniors out. I feel like this is a family oriented place. It's a really good community. And I don't want to leave them behind. You know, I feed my neighbors, the seniors that have lost their husbands and wives. Some of the people, I'll go out and make sure they're good on the holidays. I have a lot of stuff to do for Christmas. And I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm just like really grateful. And I want to share that I think you're doing a really, really good job. And we're so excited to have you helping us. So that's just about it. If I come around, please sign the petition so that we can keep Glass Manor more safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I also just sent a note because I would love to have a meeting with the police major and maybe at the Glass Manor Community Center, because that's very disturbing. And to the extent that we can provide greater support and greater attention, you know, we have to do that. But thank you for your advocacy and all that you've done. And I'm so happy that you've been working with Councilmember Byrd on those issues.
All righty. I see Miss Jackson.
Sorry about that. Couldn't get off mute. Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you, of course, for the time and for all the work that you all are doing on an ongoing basis. To the young lady's point, and I didn't catch her name, I know there are a lot of people in the county doing a lot of good work to advance us and to get us where we want to go as a collective. It can't all be on you as an elected official or your office. Where I think I see a lot of challenges is being able to get that information where it's in one place, where it's easily accessible, where the young lady who's putting together a petition for the rest of our communities who want one, instead of every civic association having to go through figuring out and hunting down through that horrible Prince George's County website the instructions on how to get it done, it would be great to have some processes and procedures so that it could easily be captured for other locations. We have the community meetings, and I've just started joining those. I know Demetria, our Apple Grove Civic Association president, was attending as well. And Diane, you do a great job, but it's only but so much we can get done in an hour, right? The work has to happen beyond that. So figuring out how to do that, and I think you all as a council taking a different approach than what is normally done, the status quo of this last changing of the guard and getting right into session and not just taking a break. I think we all need to get in the mind frame of a changing of the guard, because what I see currently is in a lot of the community meetings, they're held in the middle of the day. So it's only accessible for folks who are not working or retired or perhaps don't work during those hours. But we need more opportunities. I know the Southern region has a meeting. I've requested multiple times for them to consider quarterly doing an evening meeting or a weekend meeting so that more people could participate, because there are people who want to do and are capable of doing plenty. And it's going to be on all of us. I'm glad to hear the sharper floors. I've been meaning to stop and read those signs, but I don't want to get hit by people flying, but the signs are so difficult to read. So I'm glad to know that that's the 22nd, because I am concerned about there and Rosecroft Raceway. When I had spoken with the Sharpers a couple of years ago, I know that there's an infrastructure issue in terms of what can be built there, in terms of like water lines and all of those things. So it's important for all of us to understand the process, understand your limitations and who we need to put pressure on and what we can do as individuals. We just need to be able to do it easily without it becoming a full-time job. So appreciate anything you can do there to help us do that.
No, thank you. And that makes sense. I think to the extent that we can simplify basic things like how do you get speed bumps, or where do you go to for help if, you know, with like the crime issue, you know, who can you call, who the police major is. So maybe Flechette, if we can work on creating a guide of some sort. how do you navigate county services sort of guide might be helpful. And then also, Diane, it might be helpful in our newsletters, especially as it relates to the bills. You know, the moment we have the dates for people to sign up, just creating a short email on how to sign up and what the bills are, and if folks want to be involved, how to do that. And I will try for my bills, I'll try to schedule them at an hour, the bill hearings for an hour that's after hours. To your point, most of our, public hearings are kind of sporadically throughout the day. It could be 10 o'clock one day, it could be 11 o'clock one day, it could be noon. One day you could think it's at noon and then it's really at 4 or 8 a.m. We can do, depending on the flow of the meeting and, if bills are advancing quickly or not, if there's a lot of debate, if there are a lot of amendments, all those things cause it to fluctuate. But Diane, at least on, I would say the tobacco bill, the storage bill, the camera bill, some of our big bills, let's say we can get them at a time certain public hearing that is after hours. That, I think the majority of the council would be in agreement with that, because we are trying to move in a different direction. I think that's a part of it.
Absolutely. And I do want to acknowledge we are at 7 p.m. So if you are not able to stay with us, I'm going to take the last 2 questions that are here. And then also to acknowledge, if you haven't gotten our newsletter, you can email me. I put our email, my email in the chat to add you to our newsletter blast. And then also see lots of love for Colin in the chat. Also, if you asked a question beforehand, we have those answers as well, but I want to pivot over to iPhone. Number 2, I'm going to ask to unmute so you could go ahead and ask your questions. But if you have to hop off, thank you so much for joining us. We'll stay for just a couple more minutes and then we have to wrap up.
And I'm here. I'm not in a rush. So, I mean, if you all have to leave, I understand, but I'm here to answer all the questions. So, okay, so yeah, iPhone. Sir, I believe it's you're on mute. iPhone with the hand up.
Yep, we see you.
I see you. It's just that your audio's off.
I'm going to pivot over to YCN01.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, this is Yvette Norris. I'm from the Temple Hills area. This may have already been answered. I couldn't join till late. Are we planning to have these types of community meetings regularly? And if so, will they be just only be scheduled through the newsletter? Because some of the things that are very important and very exciting that the councilman puts out, they're people that aren't on the newsletter or on computers. Some of my neighbors are not aware of a lot going on. So I'm not sure how we reach them, but I'd also like to know, are we regularly going to have these meetings? I think they're very beneficial.
Yes, I am, I definitely I enjoy having these. We can definitely do these more often. It's always, we try to find a balance as an office because, we're invited to every civic association where we go over the same material. And then, I think we're going to start doing our PTSAs again. And so just find the right balance between, the civic association, the homeowner association meetings, our own meetings that we host, even different churches have meetings, the different clubs have different meetings. And so, we are open to doing more of these for sure. We're also open to coming to any particular meeting that you already have or an event that you already have. So just, we're open.
And also, one of the questions we got beforehand was how to get meetings scheduled. Again, our phone number and email address are the best way to get in contact with us. Ms. Plachette does a great job managing the council members' very hectic schedule, but we know that he likes to be out in the community, so we schedule as much as we can. So if you ever have a meeting request, you can send it that way, or if you are trying to get in contact with our office on a particular issue that's happening in your neighborhood, those are the best ways to get in contact with us. But just wanted to answer that as well because we did get that question beforehand. Mr. iPhone, did you get a chance to unmute? Is it working for you?
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Councilman, how you doing? John Sims speaking from Apple Grove.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
Okay. I came in a little late, but one of my questions is, Apple Grove is an older community, has a lot of elderly people, and a lot of their homes are being sold by their kids. And we're having people that's buying these homes and renting them out. And my question is, as working in Fairfax in law enforcement, we have things called code enforcement. And it covers how many people are supposed to be in properties. And do these landlords have the proper paperwork to rent out some of these properties? I mean, are we holding them accountable?
Yeah, no, we hear concerns quite often as it relates to code enforcement. We know that there are certain homes in our district where there are multiple families living and multiple cars outside, and overall our code enforcement unit in the county government is severely understaffed, significantly understaffed. And one of the things that I'm looking at doing, and maybe that is with the LDC funding, is to try to get some dedicated inspectors just for our district, so that we're not competing with everyone else. Because essentially right now that's what's happening. I don't remember the exact number, but something like 10 code inspectors for certain scopes of work for the entire county. And the backlog is so significant that it's pretty chaotic. So that is something that I'm looking at doing, is trying to get dedicated code enforcement just for our district. And I know that will make Colin's life a lot easier because he's constantly dealing with DPI and all of those agencies, and it's very odd because they have so many vacancies. And one of the things that the council, so that's the executive branch, just so you know, that's the county executive runs those agencies. And so one of the things that the council just noticed was that agency has so many vacancies, probably over 30-40 vacancies, but none of the vacancies are on the website for hire. So it's like, we're funding them at a certain level every year. They have the vacancies, but if you go on the website to apply for the job, there are no jobs posted to do it. And so Eric Olson, returning council member, is going to be chairing the committee where this will fall under. And I know he's laser focused on that improvement. And I know that an option for us is using some of the LDC money to try to have dedicated code enforcement for our area. But if there are any particular cases that you have, please still send them our way, and we will follow up.
All righty. And I'm going to give our last question to Mr. Jones.
Huh?
Mr. Jones, do you have a question? I see your hand raised. Did someone else try to ask a question?
Diane?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. Good evening. My name is Patricia Morris, and I want to say hello to Councilmember Burroughs and to you, Diane, and to everyone that's on. I'm sorry I got on a little late tonight. For Councilmember Burroughs, I want to just make a comment.
Okay.
And I want to thank you for coming on to speak to my caregivers in October. You just don't know how much they appreciated that. We have quite a few caregivers in our district, and I would like to try to reach as many caregivers as possible in our area. So I would just want to put that out there so that we can maybe work together to make that happen. And thank you so much for the attention that you're giving my caregivers now. Thank you so much. This is Patricia.
No, thank you so much for what you do. For those of you who are unaware, Ms. Morris works with caregivers from across our region, certainly across the county, and gives them different tools, strategies, resources to help them and to encourage them and to support them and their families. And so she's been doing it for a number of years, and it has grown very significantly. So thank you so much for your service, Ms. Morris, and please tell Mr. Morris I said hello.
I sure will, and thank you for your support. Caregivers, and don't want anybody to forget the caregiver, because as long as we live, we might need a caregiver.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I see we have Nikia right here. How you doing?
I am well. Good evening, Councilman Burroughs. I'm over here beaming so bright, listening to you and all you've got accomplished. Keep up the great work. We are so very proud of you. We're praying and we're pushing you to a place called excellence.
Thank you so much. I look forward to working with you. And I know we have plans that we need to catch up on. So make sure we do that.
Absolutely.
And
Diane, are you gonna put a contact information slide up?
Yes. Thank you for queuing that one up for me. You could stay in contact with our office in a number of ways. Our email address is on the screen, as well as our phone number. If you are on social media, you can catch us on social media as well with our Twitter and our Instagram and our Facebook page. Please find us and connect with us. We try to stay in contact as regularly as we can, but both being out in the community and hosting meetings of our own. This is how you can get in contact with us in those ways. So that information is there. And I'm going to give it to Mr. Jones for our last question of the evening.
Oh, fantastic. Sorry about that earlier. The councilmember, sorry, one of your previous residents talked about, outreach and how to reach most people, et cetera. I was wondering, is a possibility of having the council member have some sort of program on Prince George's County cable? Because cable has a very high penetration rate with the senior community. And I wanted to find out whether that's something you thought about. That's one. And then two, I appreciate you redirecting the local impact fund. That was great. My association's on point with that. It makes all the sense in the world. And three, in 2023, we're going to be talking to you more about the safety issue on 210 and what we can do collectively. Reverend Screen and Ron Weiss are working with the 210 Safety Committee, but we're probably going to need your input and your influence. Thank you.
I look forward to working with you on that very important issue. And I had not thought about cable and was it CTV? But yeah, I would like to reach out to them, and that's a great idea. It's a great idea. Then I saw one thing in the chat that I wanted to address, because I know so many residents have concerns about it, and that's this from Ms. Rice. Rosecroft is 125 acres and currently zoned rural residential. Yeah, I have there are a lot of people with a lot of plans for Rosecroft, all types of plans for Rosecroft. There's certain things that they can do by right, but there are certain limitations that they have because they are deemed rural residential. And I have no intention on changing the zoning or any text amendments to change the zoning to increase the density or to change what they can do. I have no intention of doing that. But yes, please keep in touch. There's my email. I was unaware how many emails Plachette gets, until today. We were going over all the emails that she gets. So, please reach out to us. And thank you so much, Plachette, for everything that you do to kind of engage and help everyone out. And same for you, Colin. I'm so lucky to have the best constituent services director on the entire floor, and everyone knows it. So much so that I was at a meeting earlier today and a new council member wants Colin to train their constituent services person.
Right.
I thank you so much, Diane, for everything that you do, for organizing our community meetings, for organizing this function, all the social media that you see. That's all Diane. And my chief of staff, who is here, does everything. And so, you know, the legislation, leading the office, does a phenomenal job. And I want to acknowledge him as well. Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year, happy holidays. And please keep in touch.
God bless
Take care,
you too.
everybody.
Thank you very much. Be safe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.